Hello, hello. Ah, welcome to day 23, Daily Embodiment Series. It is almost 1 in the morning as I'm recording this because I had a beautiful, delicious, lovely connection with some friends. That was just delightful and delicious. And we did some practices together and we enjoyed some food together and we had long conversations. And it just felt like really good community. And that is just like medicine for the soul. I just love it. So today I'm going to dive right into practice. We're going to continue on with The Drummer and the Great Mountain, a guidebook to transforming adult ADD ADHD by Michael Joseph Ferguson, which we've been using for the past several episodes. And we have been in a little mini series within this daily December all about the visioning process. So we discussed the things that visioning should accomplish, which are provide clarity about what you want to create, clarify what you don't want to create a basic roadmap to work from. And then we stepped into a couple of different steps that were available to us. And no matter which processes you use, whether they're these processes or others, it's important that they do what I just mentioned, which are clarify what you want, what you don't want, and provide a basic roadmap. That's what helps. Okay. So we had gone through in our visioning step 1 all about our talents and abilities and getting clear about what your talents and skill sets are. Then in the visioning step 2, we did some mining or daydreaming for clues and exploring the subconscious. Then for yesterday's practice, we did a visioning step 3, which was long-term goals in specific areas of your life. And we did a little practice exploring where I'd like to be in 5 years' time in those different categories. Today, our practice is going to be for the visioning step 4, and this is from long-term goals to short-term goals. So we're going to be doing a little mapping short-term goals exercise today. You ready to hear about it? Here we go. Glasses. Let's put them on. Okay. Now that you have a working list of long-term goals, which is what we worked through yesterday. So the where I'd like to be in 5 years was our practice for discovering our long-term goals. The next step involves distilling each goal into a list of short-term goals. This step is essential because it will provide you with the practical steps necessary to achieve each goal. So, mapping short-term goals. This is the exercise. Choose a goal from the list you've created in the previous exercise. Now my brain is like, oh, I should go back and watch that video and figure out what were my goals. But I'm not going to do that because it's almost 1 in the morning. So we're going to work through how we're going to fly by the seat of our pants. Choose a goal from the list you've created in the previous exercise. On a sheet of paper turned lengthwise, landscape, create a rough map for achieving it. Write out all the steps necessary in reaching your goal. You may want to go from beginning to end, or it may be easier for you to work backwards, starting from the end result and listing each step that needs to happen in order to achieve that goal. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I love this book so much because it feels like it keeps emphasizing that there's no right or wrong. And also, regardless of what practice you use, and you can use multiple ones, here are some clarity around what they should provide for you. Beautiful. Okay. Like my mascara, is that a shadow or is that like I need to wash my face? I don't know. Okay, we're going to keep going. Focus. There's no right or wrong way to do this. You may want to place the goal on the lower right-hand side of the page and start listing steps from the upper left, or make the lower left-hand side start the start point and move towards the upper right. Don't worry about making it perfect. This is a creative process. If you've listed items out of order, take another sheet of paper and refine the original map once you have a rough map. So you can create a rough map, and then if you find that you want to continue to working, you can refine that. For example, if your long-term goal is make a successful film seen by thousands of people, then your timeline may look something like this. Study filmmaking in depth, take classes, read books, etc. That was 1. 2, make a few short films. 3, write a full-length screenplay. 4, find collaborators. 5, acquire the equipment. 6, shoot the film. 7, show film at festivals. 8, find a distributor. 9, successful screenings nationwide and abroad. And of course, if you're at a different stage of your development of your creative making and sharing process, that might look different for you, meaning you might not start with study the filmmaking in depth because maybe you have already done that. And so some of the other pieces that are more broad, like shoot the film, might be broken up into a lot of different pieces in pre and post production as well. So the aim of this exercise is to help you get really clear on how the goal can actually be achieved, moving it out of fantasy land into something that feels doable. This process will give you a list of potential short-term goals, even though make a successful film seen by thousands of people can feel overwhelming. Study filmmaking, take classes, read books, etc., is quite doable in the here and now. If you haven't arrived at a realistic short-term goal like this, keep refining it until it feels doable. Depending on the size of your long-term goals list, you may want to start with only a couple of the main ones. It's easy to get overwhelmed if you try to address too many goals in one sitting. Keep in mind, this is an ongoing process. Make it a habit of regularly revising and refining your goals. Okay, I'm going to stand up and embody something. Daily December just means keep going and showing up to the practice. Okay. I am now defining my short-term goals. I feel back and down into myself. I feel really clear in my ability to support myself. I am aware that this practice is a very pragmatic one where to do it, like if I were to sit down and do it, what I would do, maybe I'm just going to track this, is that I would look at yesterday's embodiment video and I'd write down all of the long-term goals that I expressed and find like probably a truncated way of saying them because they were more effusive and embodied as opposed to like clearly outlined on paper, right? So I think I would find a way to synthesize them into a clear list of long-term goals. So let me just feel what that's like to do right now. I don't know why I'm spinning. I don't know if it's because I'm tired and I'm doing this practice too late, or if it's because this is part of the practice. I don't know. Does it matter? I mean, kind of yes and kind of no. But also I feel like I'm learning how, okay, this does both feel like part of the practice and not related to the practice. I feel like I'm learning how to like let whatever content comes up to be the content that comes up and not make it wrong or bad, and know that sometimes it's the broad strokes that are really important. And so if I have my life goals, my 5-year experience, my 5-year plan, what if I stand back here and I look at my list in the ethers right here, right now. And I want to like choose one. It's the money one. And I remember in this one, what I remember from this one from yesterday off the top of my head is that my eyes were closed and there was some sort of like whirlpool, something that I was tuning into, tapping into, that felt really nourishing. And it wasn't that I wasn't tracking numbers and there wasn't any counting or accounting, but it was that wasn't how the financial stability came in, the financial fluency came in. It was more like allowing myself to close my eyes, trust, and maybe make choices that were not necessarily like logical and from the numbers, but were really related to the how the flow was going to feel financially. And so I'm curious if that's what I want to feel and get to. What are my short-term goals? I'm aware that there's a layer of trust necessary and present. I'm aware that these embodiment videos are a way for me to provide absolutely access to practice and getting to know those of you in a supportive and vulnerable and witnessed and witnessing way. And also, it's been a way for me to practice saying who I am, what I have to offer, and inviting you into a connection point of the possibility of being either a paid patron or a private coaching client, and finding a synthesis of the tools, the short-term goals and in relationship to okay, so I'm here and I want this. So how do I take those two things that relate to money and allow it to be more fluid? The short-term goal or goals would be to keep folding that language into my process and practice. So I will, at the end of each of my videos, talk about them very specifically and feel what it's like to shift the angle and ride the tides of how I want to communicate to you. I can also continue posting on my stories about it. I also, oh, this one, I have an interview that I've been asked to complete, that I can actually complete and send out there. So maybe people will see it, or I'll at least be able to utilize it in my materials to provide some sort of like, hello. Like I feel like I really, I don't want to do this though. I want to do this. So what is this? What is this? What is a task? What is a short-term goal to get me here? I have to be really flexible, I guess. Like there's also like a focus. So there's a focus. So focusing maybe, my mind just went like, create a website for self-care for performers. You keep doing that and then undoing that. Just do it. And I'm like, no. So I'm aware that like that might be a part of this experience. Can I be flexible enough to let myself just make that, not overthink it, let it happen? And then be willing to create like little digestible nuggets for you all to purchase too, that are maybe like downloadable information packets, like how to talk to collaborators with some scripting ideas, emotional safety for actors is a workshop I've taught before that I could create into a packaged something to deliver. I feel really called to host like more immersive retreat style connections, or like cyclical working with one another in practice kind of dynamics. That feels important. and allowing it to happen naturally, organically, but there's such a clarity around, like, it's important that the money isn't the focus, and that's what taps into the money. So like, don't focus on the money, but feel the flow, that the way you want to flow with energy and people. And to me, tonight was a lovely representation of that. I just was able to invite a couple of friends who I trust and know and love, and who I want to also feel more trust and love and knowing of themselves and one another. And we were able to deepen into intimacy practices that had to do with consent and practicing pausing, asking for something we want. So something as simple as it was from a book that was designed for touch, but we didn't necessarily utilize touch if the body was like, don't want that. So my example before we entered space was to feel into the, will you hand me this mug? And then a pause on their end. And this feels very slow, but I promise this is like the framework for how to get to a point where it can eventually move more symbiotically, consensually symbiotically. And then there was a pause, like for them to really feel into, do I feel a full body yes, a full body no? Maybe, but could you clarify what you mean? Because I feel like I could use some more direction or some more clarity around how you want that done. Or yes, I can, but I would need to do it this way. Would you like that still, or would you prefer something else? And then to take a beat, a pause, receive the response from the ask. And then if there is a need to acknowledge a no, or to clarify, or to agree to the modification, and that happens, or if there is a mutual yes, a full body yes to the ask, then that can happen. And then feedback can be asked for in the process. And then once that's complete for a durational amount of time, whether that was just an action to need to be taken, or an ask to like hold a hand, or an ask to walk around a room, that then there is a thanking of the partner and a reflection of the internal experience of, I experienced this as that was happening. I noticed these sensations, these emotions, these qualities inside of myself in relationship to what happened. And then trade, the other person says, I noticed this. This was my experience. This is what came up for me internally in relationship to this process. And then holding space for that, and then expressing for me of my curiosities and experience of a facilitator, so that I can get real-time feedback from them about, what did you like during this facilitation process? What felt good? What would you want or need more of? And to receive that. To me, all of those steps, as I become more fluent in them, as my community becomes more fluent in them, it can start to feel like this. So I can continue practicing consent practices. I can continue slowing down when I notice my body or someone else's body maybe is flagging not a full body yes, but as something else, and invite a 20-second pause to really be with the clarity of what is needed, what boundaries or consent or clarity might be held best. That's it. I'm tired. It's a 102. Okay. Thank you for your time today. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.